Hello and welcome back to Gator Gossip. It is Tuesday, 7 o'clock, and I have a special friend, special guest, Amanda.
Hi. Nice to meet you guys.
Last name is, what do we go by?
We can just do Wagman. That's fine.
Amanda Wagman. So I've known Amanda for a very long time, and she has a journey in mental health, behavioral health, as a parent, as an educator, and just wanted to hear her story.
It's been a
So
fun
would
time.
you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Amanda. I have my master's degree in reading education. My background mostly is preschool, so I've been a preschool teacher for, I guess, like 12 years, really, 13 years.
Yeah.
I have 3 children. They all have different needs in different mental health areas, and I've just really been learning by going along. But I have to say, both of my experiences have really kind of propelled each thing forward. Being a mom, being a young mom, really kind of propelled my career in education. And the more I learn with education and learning and behaviors in the classroom and just a differentiation, it really kind of circles back with my children.
Right.
So it's a nice,
Right.
circle for me. What I learned from my children, I put into my classroom, and education. What I learned from education, I try to bring it back around just to benefit my children.
Right. And then, so you have 3 kids, and you were in education prior?
No,
That wasn't a goal.
no, it was not a goal at
No.
all. It's I'm very grateful for where I'm at now, but very grateful for your sister Casey, because that's really what kind of propelled me into my education career now. When Holly was born, I was 20, and when I entered into working in childcare, I was 22, and it really was because I needed a job desperately,
Yeah.
and I needed childcare, and childcare is incredibly expensive. But Just Children offered half off, so I was able to start working, and I was able to bring Holly with me. She was 2. She was 2 and she turned 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought she was in there before that.
No, she was. Well, she was getting services.
Yes.
So she had a delay in speech, but it was just auditory, and she needed the bottom of her tongue clipped because she had too much skin there. So
Tongue-tied?
yeah, she was tongue tied. Yeah, and they had said to put her in childcare. So it really was like a lot of different moving parts that kind of helped me to go into childcare. And I started it, and I just started getting opportunities. Like I had the opportunity for my CDA, and I was like, might as well take this. And just from those kinds of help, I was able to move forward in the career. But I really started at the bottom with really nothing, and was able to work my way working in childcare to my master's degree, and now I'm a Head Start teacher for the Kansas City School District. So I'm very I'm very blessed where I am at now.
Yeah.
I'm very happy, and I'm very thankful for that journey.
You're not pre-K anymore.
I'm still pre-K.
Still pre-K.
It's 3 to 5. Yeah, it's 3 to 5. It's Head Start. We take kids that have never been in school before, just coming, and we have kids that are ready to transition into kindergarten. So it's nice. I am, very thankful for my experiences with my children, just because I'm able to be a pillar of support for the parents that come in and they're just like, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, hey, I've been there with all 3 of my children. So let me give you these resources, and like, oh, your kid's going through this. Well, mine went through that. This is some resources I did. Your kids, you're experiencing that. No worries. Here's the list of people you can call. I've even given out my own children's therapist information for some of my parents, to be like, hey, worst thing they're gonna do is tell your kid's fine. Yes. That's literally it. The worst thing you're gonna hear from this is your kid's totally okay, and like, I'm the first one to say, like, please come back and tell me like I'm wrong. I'm totally okay with that. So
sometimes it's a lot of offense is almost taken.
Yeah.
Here, not.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming to my school, or if you're involved in my activities, you already know that there's a diagnosis. If not a diagnosis, maybe some social awkwardness, whatnot. But when you present that in your situation, where it's not just special education, to a parent who is dead set on their child being typically developing and they're not, I can imagine that can go. both ways.
There's been some instances, not on my part. I'm very grateful because I've been through it. I kind of know how to tiptoe around it, to not be offensive. But there's been some times where I've been there and I've been like, this is so cringe right now because it's just not how I would present the information. It's not how I would relate to the parent. It's not how I would. That's not the language or the terminology that I would personally use.
Yeah.
But there's some teachers that just don't know, you know, or they're just like old school, you know, they don't want to get with the times or the program or just really the language and the terminology. And it's like, why? You want to be united with the parent. You want to, we're all with the same goal of the kid being successful. So why wouldn't you want to try to be the parent's advocate, the parent's, I don't want to say friend because it's professional, but you an ally. You want to be together as a team to get the kid the support, the services, the issues addressed, so that they're just successful here and in school and beyond. You know,
it's and you have to make sure that, like you said, you're coming at a place of like support and respect, and not your kid did this, you can't come back tomorrow. Your kid did this every single day when you go to pick up. Because I remember like picking up Colin, and it was just every single day something else from preschool up until Friday. Every day it's just, and you're like, all right, but in the beginning of this whole thing, would he have gotten in trouble for this? No, but the parent knows when they pick up, when they drop off, that there's a chance this child might ruin someone's day. And I don't think that any of us moms, and I can't speak for dads, I'm talking about moms right now, but we already know, so you don't have to remind us in an ignorant way. We totally get it. We sit at home at night and probably cry about it. We probably drive in silence and wonder, like, how did I just get home? Because I don't remember driving here. So that's just a friendly reminder to some educators and people out in the community who don't know how to use respectful language and things like that, that our parents of kids that have issues and things of that nature, bring it to us respectfully, because trust me, we already know.
It also comes to, as a parent, like, where we see all the good things our kids do. And we know, like, yes, maybe there's some behaviors that are challenging or that are difficult, but like, we know our kids do things well too. And you always want to start off on like a positive note, like, hey, this child did all these things today, and these things were so awesome, and we're so proud, and they made these accomplishments. But you know, we had a little slip back here with this, but we're addressing it, and if you could address that at home too, we would appreciate that. The one of the schools I worked at when Claire was in preschool, I would pick her up every day, and all the kids were on green, and Claire was on red. All the kids, every single kid.
So they're perfect.
Yeah, and she's on red. And it got to the point where, like, because I've been an educator a long time, and
how old was she?
She was 3.
Oh.
3. She was 3. And I know how important preschool is, pre-K is. It's important for kids to learn. Don't get me wrong at all, but it's important for them to like school. And it got to the point for me where I picked her up one day for school, and I saw the behavior chart, and I'm like, can you just tell me one good thing she did? Like, just name one good thing she did today. Because I know she did good things today. I know this whole thing hasn't just been a red day. Like, I know she did good things today. And I was starting to get concerned because I was like, she's going to hate school. She's going to hate school. Just because she's not, and she's not typical. And just because she's not, like, you're putting her in a box, and because she's not fitting into your box of behavior, she's bad.
What was she doing? Do you remember?
She's
for the teacher.
She's sassy. She's sassy. So, and a lot of, like, she had a hard time sitting. She was mouthing off. She took her a long time to, and I know conform's not the right word to use, but it took her a long time that's such a better terminology. Thank you. Integrate. It is. It's hard for Claire. Claire needs some reminders. Claire needs some redirection. Claire needs some guidance and support, and they just weren't doing it. So they were seeing like the literally reactive worst side of her that you could possibly imagine. But Claire is brilliant. Brilliant. She's already she's in 5th grade. She's on a 12th grade reading level. She's obsessed with Greek and Latin roots. Like, you know, this, even in preschool, she was so smart. So smart in preschool. Like, I did not, like, I wish I could take credit for it, but I really didn't have to do any teaching with her. Like, she's just always been smart. So, as a teacher, even if you have kids with behaviors, it's so rewarding to see a child that's intelligent, that gets it, that understands material, that puts together what you're trying to present for them. And I know Claire could do that. So I wish that they would have focused on that more than she's just not sitting and being quiet. Because I understand that's stressful. Even for me, I get it. But at the same time, like, you have to praise your kids for like what they do well in too. So.
And that's I have a lot. No, that's fine. That's good. I have plenty of children that we've worked with that are so smart and they are so bored, and so many behaviors just come out of a very smart child being bored, and the teacher not trying to figure out, well, what can we do to not make this child bored, because they don't know what to do with themselves anymore. As adults, when you're bored, my brain gets into so much trouble when I'm bored. I think about the worst things. I can't be bored, and I am 37 years old.
You have to be busy.
I know what I can and can't do. So if I'm a little kid and I'm bored and I already in my head go, but I know the answer, but I answered that right, but I am sitting down, but I feel like we just as educators have to understand that you can't just place into a box, whether it's an IEP for gifted, whether it's an IEP for developmental delay, whatever it is. Claire is different than John. And John is different than Claire. And you need to bridge the gap so that
they don't care. They don't care. She did not care. She knew that her teachers thought she was bad. That's what she got from that. She didn't change the behavior. She didn't care that her little card was not green, that it was red. Like, she just knew her teachers didn't like her. Sometimes it upset her. Sometimes it caused her to act out more. Like, she would really push their buttons sometimes because she's already knows. And negative attention is better than no attention at all. So if all the attention she's going to get is negative, she's going to continue with that negative attention.
And listen, behavior charts work. Token systems work. We do them all the time here. I do them with my kids. I do them, used to. Well, I might start having to do it again for the oldest. But they work. They work when done properly. It is not a cookie cutter fix. It's not something that every kid's going to understand. You have to teach it, and you want to just set them up. You want them to enjoy what they are doing. That is where she's in school for hours at a time. These kids are in school for hours at a time. Let them enjoy it. Let them have fun. Let them know when they're being wrong and teach them replacement skills. Was she ever taught replacement skills in the classroom?
No, it was never. It was because, unfortunately, with childcare, you hire a lot of inexperienced people. So it was kids fresh out of high school.
You're talking like a regular, like even like a 0 to 5.
And I'm not even talking about the main teacher. I'm talking about the aides that would take over afterwards. So aides a lot of times are they're not trained. They're not educated. They're just given the classes that are mandatory from the state. So your continuing education credits, your 10 hours for New Jersey, your 10 hours of training that you have to have before you're alone. It doesn't teach you how to teach. It teaches you like mandated reporting. It teaches you like health and safety. It teaches you supervision. So like, sure, things for the child to be safe in the classroom, but it's not teaching them like how to interact with a child. Like, it's not teaching you proper behavioral techniques. It's not doing any of that.
Even play.
Nothing. It's just, and you know, unfortunately, there is a disconnect between what was expected, even for us growing up, versus now. Like, kids have so many feelings. We did not have feelings. We did not have feelings growing up. We were not.
That's why we're all messed up now.
Because we had all these feelings, we just weren't allowed to feel them. You know, it was, and grateful. That was grateful. That was the feeling we were allowed to have. Grateful.
Just grateful.
Grateful. That's it. Be, grateful for whatever you were given. You had
being alive.
Being alive, being grateful, being thankful. Thankful, grateful. I feel like those were the feelings that we were expected to have growing up. Where now, like, kids have feelings, and like as a teacher, I am also adjusting to like, just having a whole curriculum around feelings and having belly breath and putting your hands on your belly and taking those steps to naming your feeling. Because like for us, and even me as a mother, me as a teacher, like I'm not perfect. I am not the best. I am improving every year. And getting better every year. And, you know, I even have to kind of step back sometimes and remind myself, even when I'm being overwhelmed by whatever that's happening around me, like, you know, I have this training, like, let me use it. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It is. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard sometimes when there's just chaos going around you at home. It's hard sometimes when there's chaos going around you in the classroom to take that step back and do that training. And sometimes it doesn't work. You know, sometimes the belly breaths are not enough, but you know, you have to kind of remember that we have all these trainings, and sometimes kids that are fresh out of high school that are hired for these minimum wage jobs, which sucks. It sucks that it's like that. They don't have the training for that, and I really think these kids that took this job when Claire was 3 were expecting babysitting, and you know, expecting to have kids that were typical, that listen, that are just, you know, told to do what they're supposed to do because they're adults. You know,
like nearly perfect.
You know? Truly.
Because
perfect.
typical at 3, regardless from issues that were going on, but typical behavior at 3 is probably half of what she was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of it was 100% being a typical truly,
some of it,
a 3-year-old.
Right.
Some of it was like a little bit more sensory seeking, a little bit. Some of it was just like defiant. She was so defiant, and some of it was just too like bored. Bored. So you have, you know, she's just 3 to be 3, and then you have some other stuff like sensory seeking. Claire's always been very sensory seeking. Defiant. She was diagnosed with ODD, so you know, that was a whatever, man. Like, we can get into it if you want to, but when we went to the neurologist, the neurologist walks in, and Claire's crawling on all fours on the floor, meowing under my chair, meowing as the neurologist walks in. Holly is the one sitting on the table, and Holly's cackling, and she's like, "Oh, you know, is this Claire?" Because Holly's the one on the table,
no.
And I'm like, "No, it's this one down here." And then she says, "Oh, Claire," and Claire hisses at her, and I'm like, "This isn't even that bad." I was like, "This isn't even that terrible. This is just Claire being Claire." So yeah, I was like, no, Claire, keep going. You know.
It helped the doctor.
It did. We had a long list when we left of diagnoses. We left with a 504. That was amazing. They wrote the 504 out, and you know, different follow-ups. I had a long wait list for the psychiatrist. After the neurologist saw Claire, she got us like expedited in for the psychiatrist. I was like, all right, great. This is good job, Claire. This is a win-win-win.
Thank you for being a cat.
This is wonderful. I was like, this is great. So, but yeah, so that, just think about that in a classroom for kids that are just supposed to really be perfect. So. It was a fun time. It was a fun time for us.
I had a cat, remember?
Yes.
Connor.
Yeah.
I also had a cat, and Connor was 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's his favorite game. Holly used to play kitty with him.
Yes, he did. They played cat. Yeah. What, do you remember him getting kicked out and you having to come pick him up? Because he scratched his friend?
I don't remember that.
For that, because he was playing cats, and it wasn't Holly. He was playing cats with somebody else, and he scratched him, and it was a tiny scratch, and it was, I'm not kidding you, it was probably 3 literal days after he got his diagnosis.
Wow.
And I've said this so many times, and I will say it until I'm dead, that they then called me because of that incident. They told me he needed to go home and could not come back without a one-to-one because he was autistic. Connor, out of all kids.
So crazy. I remember, because I was in that class, I do remember a lot of like phone calls back and forth. He was with Holly the 2nd year. Holly was put with him because Holly's a year younger than him. So it was the 2nd year he was there before kindergarten. Him and Holly were in the same class. But like, I do remember it being such a perfect match for both of them because Holly was
married.
Holly was so easygoing, and he just, whatever he wanted to play, Holly was like, okay, that's fine. You want to be a cat? That's fine. He would walk around and she would pet him. It was great. But I do remember a lot of turmoil with that. I have to say, I remember, which, like, God, I'm going back. I do remember, because I think it is a little bit different for me because it was so nice for Holly and him playing together. So I do remember a lot more of, like, them playing so nicely together. I do remember a lot with Gavin.
Yeah.
I remember a lot with Gavin.
Yeah.
I do. I remember the eloping, a lot of the eloping.
Yeah.
I do remember when he got a one-on-one. And
well, did you heard his
when he would the spark of energy,
listen,
and he would have to run
he
out.
He said he felt tingly,
yeah,
and he got spike of energy, and he just was gone.
He would always cackle before he would run out, so I wholeheartedly believe that.
So there's a part of him that totally knew what he was doing.
And he would inch. It became a game, in fairness. Because he would, unfortunately, yeah. So he would inch and inch and inch, and one of us would have to get there before he would get there, but if we weren't there in time, he would take off. Once I threw a hammer at my he threw a hammer at my head and cackled. In fairness, it was like a toy hammer. Like, it was just, but it was a transition. We were going outside, so he was excited to go outside. So I'm sure that was 100% why I got the hammer. And it was a little, it wasn't a big deal. It was like a little plastic hammer. And I did not help, I'm sure, because I was cackling too.
But could you imagine if it wasn't you?
Yeah.
The phone call that I would have had.
I know. Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that I'm saying, like, if they are a certain age, regardless of what mom is coming in and handing you and saying that this child has diagnostically, you have to take into account that you may get hit in the head with a fake hammer once in a while.
Yeah.
You may get scratched like a cat once in a blue moon.
I was so impressed with the aim. Like, that's it was more like, wow. Yeah. Like, it was good aim.
That was really good.
And I cackled. Because it is funny. But yeah, like, you have to 100%, like, you have to also too take into account like what the intention was behind it. You know what I mean? Like he's excited. You know, that's I'm sure it's a transition. He's excited. Like yes, he has these diagnoses, but also too like as a person you get to know these kids and you're like he wasn't trying to take me out.
Yes.
You know, it's a game. It's a game. A lot of them are games. A lot of them are funny. A lot of them like just be like me being so much older now. Like, I was talking to Casey a little bit about it too before we came in here. Like, if my kids walk in a line, they get it because we do PBIS points. They get a point. Yeah. If my kids are just putting themselves from home to here, they get a point. They're picking their feeling, they're getting a point. If they're just like, if I'm like, hey guys, it's time to clean up.
When you say kids, you mean your kids?
My students. I'm sorry, my students. Like, yeah, my students. I'm sorry, my students. Like, when they're just doing the right thing, like. This is so awesome. Thank you so much. Like, because I just want to build up so much positivity. And, like, the same thing with them, too. Like, you know, my oldest is a teenager. You know, Claire's 10. Like, it's a different world. It is a different world. And with, like, you know, if I'm just like, hey, can you be helpful? And I'm like, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Like, you're not fighting with me. You're not, like, I don't expect, there's no expectation from them with anything. I'm just, like, so grateful at this point if they're just kind at home. Yeah. Honestly, if they're just nice to me, kind to me, like they just want to get along, like
they just want human decency.
Yeah, if they're just like okay. I am so grateful at this point because they're like you can't have expectations because you're just gonna get disappointed. You just have to be grateful for when it's normal and nice and they're helpful and they're just being sweet and when they're mean, I just try to ride it out. And it's like they can't be mean forever.
They can be not they as in your kids, but they as in teenage girls and teenagers can be brutal. Yeah. They will have you questioning your whole upbringing. Those little girls.
Yeah.
And boys.
Yeah. Claire at 10 is mean.
Is she 10 right now?
She's 10. Yeah. She's 10, but she should be mean.
She looks like she's 12.
I know. So much older.
And Holly looks like she's how old is she?
She's 15. She'll be 16. I mean, this year she'll be 16. Yeah. She turned 15 in December. So
you were saying something, and I wanted to bring up a good point. Oh, you said don't set up expectations for like your children in general, and I think that's a great point. But I don't want people to misunderstand that. When we're saying that, it's not like we're saying we'll see where this takes us. Like there's a plan of sorts in place. Yes. But it gets derailed and you're okay.
So let me segue a little bit into what I mean by that too. So yes, you're absolutely right. So when you have children, you have all these expectations for them, and I just mean simply like maybe they're going to be straight A students. Yes. Maybe they're going to go to prom with someone. Maybe they're going to get married.
Play sports.
Exactly. Yes. Play sports. Like be social butterflies. You know, you envision maybe some of the stuff that you missed out on in childhood or how you were as a child, you want to put that onto your child, or even take some stuff from your childhood, like, you had chores, you had responsibilities, you were able to handle these things and everything turned out fine for you and, whatever, X, Y, and Z, and it's not. And I think the best point I can make of it, which, like, might be some people might share it, or, it might be so foreign for some people to think, but, like, for me, my oldest daughter was diagnosed with Tourette's on our way home from Disney World in 2020.
On the way home, someone popped out of the trunk and
yeah.
they were like,
LOL. So that was the first time that she exhibited signs.
Yeah.
So we took our youngest to Disney World for her first birthday. So, yeah, I mean, it was free. It's free for your kids under 3. And some people are Disney World people. Some people are not.
I avoided it at all costs because just the running joke of bringing your kids and, and the ungratefulness.
Wait for Epic Universe to open up, and it's going to be a whole different ballgame for your kids because you got lucky you missed that boat, but not anymore. Now Epic Universe.
We're waiting for. I want to take them to Mario World so bad.
In Japan, right?
No.
Oh,
California, I think.
But it's coming to Florida.
Oh, then it's in Florida
with Epic Universe. So they do have a Mario Land in California. That's like that's like their flagship. That's the first. But there's like a whole thing in Japan too. But Epic Universe, what I'm talking about with Universal, is going to be it's going to be Nintendo, not even Mario. It's going to be a Nintendo world. Yes, yes. So that's what I'm saying. Like you missed the boat, but wait till that comes for you guys, and then you're going to be like in the same boat we are.
See, like expectations. I wouldn't have expected to bring, say, 20-something-year-olds to Nintendo.
But they're gonna love it.
They're gonna love it.
They're gonna love it.
And that's what we do now. But that was our segue.
2025. No, it's okay. 2025 for you guys. But for me growing up, I would have loved to have done more family things, more family vacations, more family outings, just like big family things, because that was something that I really didn't have growing up. And whenever we go out, I always bring my mom. Sometimes I bring my husband's family too, and like that just is something that's like really important for me. That I would have loved as a young child. I would have loved that.
Because that to you is what it feels like. Like that to you would complete a family and make it feel like you're doing your job.
Yeah, just being a mom and a dad that loves their children. Like that. That's such a win for me that I have a husband and myself, and like we're married and we're together and we live in the same home and we have our children with us. Is such a I feel like a accomplishment having that nuclear family and like getting along is
working
nice.
Through it. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Everyone goes to therapy. There's a book I can recommend if anyone wants to know what it is. It's not the it's Hold Me Tender by like I can't remember what her last name is, but my daughter's therapist recommended that for me and my husband. So after our last family vacation, so that tells you how that went. But when we went to Disney World, coming back, when we were in Disney World, my oldest Holly was like super depressed. Super depressed.
13 at that time?
She would have been 13, yeah. Super depressed, like crying, didn't want to be there. Like at one point, it was like kind of sad. Like I do really feel bad, but at one point we're in the pool and she's like, such a red flag for me. But she was like, I don't deserve your love. I don't deserve anyone's love. Like she didn't say I'm lovable, but that's kind of what she was. And she was just sobbing in like the pool at the resort. And like we have a long history in my family of like mental illness, just undiagnosed stuff, like people living very dysfunctionally because their mental illness is not dealt with. So all this for me, hearing this was like, I'm like, oh, red flags. Like, okay, so I got to get this taken care of. This was already on my radar. I'm like, we got to get this taken care of as soon as we get home, because it was scaring me a little bit when she was like, and she's just sobbing publicly, and it was so, and like Holly, when she was little, like so unlike her, so unlike her. Like
she was just like a typical run around, happy,
bubbly. I would definitely die bubbly, social, easygoing. Like I would have never put her in the box of like being depressed, being suicidal, like any of those things. So we are getting ready to leave. We're getting ready to go home. She cried the entire trip. I'm like so blown away by that. We're in Disney World. We're literally in the happiest place on earth. Like, why are you sobbing this entire time? But I'm trying to be very accommodating and kind and whatever to this child.
Generally confused.
I'm so confused. And also too, like, why are you so miserable? I just spent all this money on this extremely extravagant vacation for us. What is happening here? Like, just so confused. So I guess that's kind of the expectation of like, you spend all this money, you're expecting to have your kids to be happy. They're not. They're miserable, and they're telling you that they don't want to be here, and you are confused. You're in Florida. Like, this is supposed to be fun. What is happening here? So we're going on the plane to get home, and like she's doing this like weird like neck crane thing, and she keeps doing that, but I'm not really paying any attention to it because like she's just whatever, uncomfortable. I've already
like,
had
maybe like trying to crack her
yeah
neck.
something, and I'm just like, are you okay? And she's like, no, my neck feels weird. So then we're moving forward, and she's like blinking kind of weird, like doing this like weird tilt, blinking a lot, and I'm like ticks entered my head, but I was like, there's no way she's ticking right now. And then it just got more and more and more, and then it ended up with the vocal tics as we were boarding the plane. And of course people are staring because like why wouldn't they stare? And you know, I'm even like looking confused at this point, but it was loud and it was audible, and she's either like that over and over again, along with the, and like the weird thing with Tourette's is the movements look painful and unnatural. So it really like it's jerky. It's very jerky. Yeah. It's very, so like you kind of can't help, and like I'm not trying to say you should stare, but you kind of can't help but take a double look because the movements are so jerky and unnatural. Like you kind of just can't help but take a double take. So then we're on the plane, and like she's crying because she's like so uncomfortable at this point, and like, which I can understand. I'm trying to shield her the best I can, but we're on the plane. She's screaming, and she's, you know, like trying so hard, but she's giving everyone the. I'm sorry, can I do that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
But she's giving everyone the finger, and she's so upset right now. Yeah. And then there's a baby that Lily had, because Lily just turned 1, and she's like punching the baby because that was one of the tics, and she's like, you know, die baby die. So that was another one that was fun. And I got to, this is a 2.5-hour plane ride, and then they lost our luggage. So we're at the Philadelphia International Airport. We don't have luggage.
That in itself is unreal.
It's late. It's like, you know, midnight. We're at the airport with lost luggage, and Holly's just walking around like twitching and screaming and cursing and, you know, saying all this insane stuff. So the next day I made the appointment. Like I called immediately, and I got through to the neurologist. But her tic attack lasted for 2 days. So you will stop ticking sleeping, but as soon as you wake up, you'll start ticking again. So she's still ticking. So she ticked all that time.
I guess it's just based off of like frustration, but stress.
Yes, and hers is anxiety induced. And it took actually 2 different neurologists to acknowledge that, because the first one said, no, it has nothing to do with the one. And I'm like, are you sure? Because when she's very anxious, she starts ticking. And he said, no, they're not connected. The second one did hear me out on that, and she agreed that her Tourette's is anxiety induced. And I couldn't do anything. Like, I felt so powerless, like, because I had to wait. We got back September 8th, somewhere around there, and I didn't even get her appointment until October 6th, which I was shocked I was able to get in so early. But I think to neurology, but I was like, she has Tourette's, like there's something wrong. She had a tic attack, I think. So I think the urgency of the appointment, which I'm very grateful for, they were able to fit her in so soon. But like, I felt so lost as a parent. So like, I just started Googling everything I could about Tourette's, and like, I put her on like a vitamin diet, although she kind of did take it at first, and then she stopped. She hates it. She doesn't take it anymore. So I have all this fish oil that's like literally still sitting at my house, because it's like something that's supposed to help with ticking, and like calcium tablets. I got her those, and like a vitamin B complex is also supposed to help. Like, I just researched everything I could with it.
It's dangerous nowadays, because not dangerous, but there's so many like biohackers and things like that. You listen to and you're like, oh my god. So you get this like concoction of vitamins that may or may not be helping. Yeah. But it's almost like misleading. Like, okay, fine, all she needs is vitamin
D. I knew that's not what she needed. I am not that kind of parent at all. I'm all for therapy and medication. Like, I'm not that parent at all. That's like, I'm not holistic by any means. But me as a parent, I felt so helpless that like, I tried to figure out what I could do, and the only thing I had access to at the time were like vitamins. So I was like, just try these. I researched diets. I try to see maybe if there's triggers in the foods. There's really not. I mean, the best I could do at the time was like give her vitamins and try to keep her under stress as much as possible. But she got diagnosed with Tourette's first, and then she got diagnosed with major depressive disorder. Second. So because the maybe the 2 were connected.
With maybe the one set off
the other. I'm not sure, because she was having a lot of anxiety at that time. Like, she was changing schools, so she was at the same school for 6 years, and then she was going to, it's a middle and a high school, and like, she was like, the best way I could describe it was dread. And I remember thinking, like, you're gonna be okay, like, and COVID hit her really hard too. It hit her so hard.
I think we're finding out now, 4 years later, 3.5 years later, how it really did mess with adults and children alike. And those kids that were born during COVID, we're seeing a lot of delays. The kids that were young during COVID, you're seeing a lot of almost like only child syndrome type things where they don't want to share. And then for our teenagers, they were left completely unsupported during that time. And they are just like trying to figure out things still 4 years later.
We entered COVID. Holly entered COVID, part of the student body council. So she was elected to the student government program at her school. Flute, a great flute player, like very talented. Cheerleader, very popular, and like emerged from COVID socially isolated, like cut off almost all her friends. Quit flute, quit cheerleading, did not want to, wouldn't do anything. She's slowly coming out of that now. Like, she's being, like, this year she's part of the school play. She did both plays. She did ALF, and now she's going to do school. So this year,
and
this
maybe
year
she'll
finally.
be able to find, because all those people may have had similar experiences to her during COVID. So she might now, at this age, you know, so awkward being teenagers. She might find people who are very similar to her.
I'm just grateful that she's like, I don't, and that's kind of where I'm segueing back. Like, I have no expectations.
No,
I'm just grateful. Like, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for days that she's happy. I'm grateful for days that she wants to participate. I'm grateful for days that she is like sharing information with me. So I guess that's kind of like what I'm saying. Like, where I did have expectations for Holly, especially because we entered into COVID. You know, popular cheerleader. Well liked, straight A student, and like, she's back to where she was now, grade wise. She's doing so much better, but like, she was failing 7th grade. But this is all during the same time of like the Tourrettes, the major depressive disorder.
And online school, right?
Online school? No, it was, she was back in person, and that was causing her a lot of like anxiety too, going back, because she was scared. She was scared to get sick, to be honest with you. She was someone that was like that, and you know, Matt and I had to be very supportive with, like, you know, don't wear a mask, it's hybrid, like, it's okay, like, you know, you'll go, sometimes you won't go, and COVID scared her. COVID really scared her. The social isolation really did a number on her. Like, she hated being home. She hated being home so much, and then entering a new school was like
all at the same
terrifying
time
for her, like terrifying. And then too, she was a little afraid when we were like going to Disney World, but at that point, like, we were all vaccinated at that point, and I was like, you know, we'll wear our masks, we're outside, we'll be okay. Like, I would not book this trip
to make you get
COVID, exactly.
Knowingly.
But now, kind of like looking back on it, I realized a lot of it was like fear from anxiety. You know what I mean? Like, so much of it was like fear, fear-induced anxiety, if that's even a term. But it was her anxiety that was making her so afraid of everything. So that really scared her. We got diagnosed with the anxiety, so she does have generalized anxiety disorder. She has major depressive disorder, and then she was diagnosed with the Tourrette's first. We got put on Topamax for her Tourette's first, but it was like knocking her out, and it really gave her like bad migraines, and she wasn't responding a lot of the medication. It stopped the ticking. But I'm so sorry. It also treats migraines, because she gets really bad migraines too. So it was treating her migraines. Her tic attacks weren't stopping, but they were lessening by a lot. But she was still ticking. But it made her like, it just took it, like, zombified her. It made her
and then you feel
so out of it.
As a parent, so they're not supposed to look that way.
No, and I really try to validate my kids' feelings. So she was telling me, I don't want to be on this, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. You know, let's just wait it out. I want to get you put on a different medication before I take you off this one, but that's fine. So her depression is pretty severe. So we got put on Prozac, and so she was taking at the time, because I just wanted to make sure it was okay to come off the other one, the Prozac and the Topamax at the same time. we went back to the neurologist. The neurologist said she doesn't have to be on both. She can just be on one. So let's put her on the Prozac. And the Prozac has been life-changing. We've had to up the dosage. We're probably going to actually have to up the dosage again. But it took care of her tics. It took care of her depression. It really, and then we go to therapy. We do family therapy, and then we have individualized therapy, which it is lapsing right now, unfortunately. We're trying to get her another therapist, but, you know.
Because typically, just the medication doesn't.
No, you have to do
therapy. But even if she knows why she's taking it, that in itself is much better than a lot of parents will, like, give the medication, not explain what it's for, not tell them that there's a choice whether they take it or not at a certain age. She's only 16 years old.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like, you know, my son, my oldest son, it's up to him.
Yeah.
I can only do so much. You only have so much control, and then at a certain age, if it's, I mean, legally, I'm not allowed to shove it down his throat.
I know.
You know?
I know.
So, but, you know, luckily, she found something that works.
Yeah.
It worked for Tony Soprano. So if it works for Tony Soprano, it's going to work for Holly.
I love that. It's both of my kids are on Prozac. Claire's on Prozac too. Claire's on it too. Yeah.
Does it matter how young they are, how old they are? Have they ever said anything like?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, like, Claire's had a lot of behavioral issues. They actually, so in January, they diagnosed her with autism. Mm-hmm. I don't even know, to be honest with you, if it's an accurate. This is terrible. I'm sorry. I don't even know if it's an accurate diagnosis, but, like, I'm so desperate for behavioral help for her that I will take the autism diagnosis because it opens up, and kind of what they explained to me, like, with her getting this diagnosis, it opens up doors for her to get behavioral health because so many of her issues are behavioral, and I don't know why. And when I took her to the neurologist originally, they did diagnose her with sensory integration disorder, which I do know is under the umbrella of autism. And she is. Oh, it's not anymore?
It used to be. Now it's really, it used to be kind of PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental disorder, specified. It was Asperger's, PDD-NOS, and then perhaps what you said, like sensory integration type deal.
Yeah.
I believe the last DSM, they changed everything
to
just reflect the spectrum of autism.
Okay.
But we have parents too that, well, we have children that will see, and I'll go, you know, in my head, I'm not a doctor at all, but I'll say, like, absolutely does not meet criteria.
Yeah.
Maybe in one subscale, but not all of them. However, if they get a diagnosis, great.
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeing it as, all right, now Claire is autistic. I'm seeing it as, all right, now we have any type of diagnosis put in place, whether I think so or not, so that I can get her behavioral help. And without it, I can't do anything.
And we're still waiting for ABA therapy.
Of course.
So we're still waiting for that. And, like, because there's some days where, like, she's fine. Yeah. And then there's days where, like, everything's a battle. Mm-hmm. Bathing is a battle. Brushing your teeth, like, and we'll lie. And the guy, why? Why lie? Yeah. Why?
I know.
Why lie? Like, what are you getting out of this?
I know.
So we'll lie about brushing your teeth. We'll lie about brushing your hair. We'll lie about putting on deodorant. Like, girl, I'm just trying to help you. Yeah. I'm just trying to help you.
It's not like as a mother you can't tell.
Yeah.
You know her teeth aren't brushed and all that other stuff.
And you're 10, girl. Come on.
I know.
But you know, we'll lie about, like, getting homework done. Everything's a lie, and it's like, and this is a little bit too of, like, the expectations again, like. You have a mother and father that love you. You have your own bedroom. You live in a single home in a nice area. You have a great school. We go on vacation.
I know. Yeah.
Like, what, like I get it, this is not the end all be all, but, like, you have so much. What is happening?
It's just that question that a lot of parents have. Whether it be your child's diagnosed and then you're just questioning a grade or B. Why did you bring this upon me? Not why did you give me a child with this diagnosis, but why am I being placed with so much stress? What did I do? How do I fix this? This is the rest of my life. Yeah. Why? Yeah. And then you have the kids who are, like, not necessarily in a severe level of autism, and that almost makes it worse. Yeah. Because a behavioral or a mental health diagnosis for children who can at times present typically as a parent, you're like, what am I doing?
I'm not trying to laugh, but the more that's going by, because I do know that autism presents itself different in girls than boys, but the more that's going by, I'm kind of like, maybe she is autistic, because I'll pick her up from school, and she'll get in the car and just scream.
She's just letting it out.
And I'm just like, are you okay? And, you know, I think it's because she masked all day at school, and she's great at masking. And like I have to kind of remind myself that, like, and Holly too, I picked up Holly and Holly's not autistic, she doesn't have an autism diagnosis, but because she has Tourette's, she also masks because you have to hold, you hold in your tics and stuff like that. So like I'll pick her up from school and she gets in the car and she just sobs. And I'm just like,
do you want a McFlurry?
I'm just like, why are you sobbing?
She ever want shakes anyone?
She's just, I bought her a nail polish. I was like, I don't know how to help with this. But she's just sobbing to me, and I'm like, why are you crying? And she's like, I don't even know. I just had a horrible day. And like just sharing everything that happened. And I'm just like, did you feel like this during the day? No. And I'm just like, okay.
You saved
like,
it for me?
Yeah, both of them, man.
Thank you.
Well, it's not one, it's the other. But the more time that goes by, I kind of am seeing a little bit more with like Claire, which is like obsessions. And like we'll like literally bring out every single marker and tell me every marker color and the number and like what the shade looks like, and if she does this with the shade, she makes this, it will make this picture. And like God forbid I look away for a second because then I'm not paying attention and she'll storm away because she's so angry that I'm not showing an interest in what she's doing. I'm like I too get bored.
I know, and it's so hard sometimes because when the little dudes are like info dumping, or little ladies are info dumping, and you're like, you're listening, and then you just
start to space out.
You space out. And then you feel so bad. And you're like, I know. Oh, you can't get that segue into like, all right, I gotta go somewhere real quick. It's so but you feel bad too because you're like, oh my God, they're finally like opening up and telling me about their interests. Oh my God, they're so boring.
I know. I'm like, I don't want to hear every possible map that's ever been made, Claire. I'm sorry.
I appreciate you like confiding in me. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, no, right now I get a lot of like, the both of us, we just get a lot of like, me and Matt, she just yells at the both of us all the time. We just get a lot of stomping and slamming doors and yelling at us, which is just apparently very common, and just anger, like just rage, and I don't know where all this rage is coming from. I did ask recently, like, why do you do this at school? Do you do this with your friends? No, but you just share it, you just speak it with us. So like, I do think like, I need better understanding and better skills to handle her anger at home, because I don't understand the root of it. I don't understand where it's coming from, and I don't understand why it's happening. Other than maybe it just really is masking, and she's just dumping it all out at home.
But even so, she would still need to figure out ways to do it,
and that's
appropriately.
And I agree with that, and that's why
that's the hard part.
We're waiting for the ABA, because I flat out said she does not need ABA at school. She needs it at home. She needs it at home.
She doesn't need anything at school.
Yeah, nothing. She doesn't need. We have a 504, so she has a 504. And Holly has a 504. Claire got her 504. I've been advocating for her to have a 504 since kindergarten, but it's never her. Which I didn't know about this until I went through it. But I didn't know you can't get a 504 unless it's affecting your grades, and it wasn't affecting her grades. Her grades have always been very high. So even though her behavior is getting worse, every year her behavior is getting worse since kindergarten. Since kindergarten, they peaked at 3rd grade, and that's where we got her 504. So she started screaming at a teacher, and that's where they finally let me get the 504, because since kindergarten she was screaming, not listening, being defiant. I mean, it was happening in preschool. So I was really advocating for the 504. They wouldn't give her one. 1st grade came, and then COVID hit, and then but I've always done outside therapies. I've always done outside resources. We did a token chart at
that all shut down with COVID.
So nothing was happening.
You can have a token board, but
but what's the point? Everything's at home. So we went back in 3rd grade, and in 3rd grade I was getting a lot of phone calls home about her and about her behaviors, and because of that they finally put the 504 in, and then last year they changed principals, and that really triggered her. The change in principals triggered her. She was hiding in the slide outside at recess. She wouldn't go in. She punched a kid. She was calling other kids' names, so I was getting phone calls from the principal. The brand new principal loved that for me.
What a great
loved
reception.
That for me. I was like, oh. But I did. The first time I was like, hey, like she has a 504. Are you guys following the 504? And they weren't. So that's why I was like, okay, well you're triggering her. Like not to be that parent of like
what are you doing?
Yeah, but we have this put into place because of this thing. Her grades are good. She scores very high on standardized tests. I know she's making your school look good. Just give my kid some leeway, because she doesn't need it. She is doing very well in school. This is why we have the 504. And then the same thing with Holly. Like Holly's been worse than Claire.
She's in 9th grade.
She's in 9th grade.
Okay.
So she's had her 504 medical. So hers is technically different. Claire's is just behavioral. Holly has a medical 504 because of her Tourette's. So one of her, because the way that your brain works when you have Tourette's, you can't focus on two things at the same time. You can't do two things at the same time. So like, where Holly quit flute, I really do believe that was because of her depression. Because she was sitting there and she was like, I'd rather die than play flute.
Alright, number 4.
And I was like, so now we kid about it. Like now, no, you're fine. Now we like joke about it more. But at the time, I was terrified she was gonna kill herself. Like I really went through. And then there's another thing too. Like expectations go out the window because you just want your children to be alive.
Yes. Yes.
Both of them got diagnosed with suicidal ideation. Both of them. So the Prozac helped so much with that. Therapy too, but Prozac really helped a lot with that. But like that's like I'm just grateful my kids are alive. Like that's where all like mental illness 100%. Like it's very, very real in children and like needs to be taken seriously and like really needs to be like just documented. Needs to be like addressed. Needs to be like therapy. Like please just get your kids therapy. If I can walk away with one thing here, it is just get your kids therapy. Even if you don't think they need it, even if you think it's a joke, like my husband's wonderful. I love him. I'm very grateful. I'm so happy that I'm with him. I have a wonderful life with him. But even in the beginning, even in the beginning, he was like, if you take, literally said to me, if you take a kid to the doctor, they're going to diagnose them with something. Yeah. And that was his mindset very much in the beginning. And I kind of had to say to him, like, I know typical progression. And this is not typical progression, and I'm seeing red flags here, and this is why I'm doing this. It's not because I'm looking for diagnoses. I'm not necessarily looking for I'm not looking for a problem. No. I'm seeing red flags, and I'm scared. I'm scared. Like that was the best way to describe it. So that's why And at first he was kind of like, the kids are fine, but now that we go as a family, now that we have the kids have individuals therapy too, like he really sees the benefit of it, and we share with the therapist. He lets us know what we need to work on, what to try, and sometimes it's just nice too to vent to someone about how we're trying so hard to be good parents, and your kids still hate you or whatever.
And it's hard as it's hard as a mom or a parent, but specifically as a mom because. And I'm not hating on your dads. I know I love dads, right? I'll say that. That's not weird. Take that back. Sorry, Jimmy, I don't know why I said that. But you just feel so lost, like you're saying. You see red flags. You have a history of it. You have a fear and anxiety of, oh shit, what's this going to progress to?
Yeah.
I already know it's going to happen. Then you have to explain it to a husband or a significant other who doesn't quite get it, who's a lot more lax about it in both situations, that literally doesn't understand it. You have to teach them while getting the therapies together, while taking phone calls from the principals and the teachers, making sure you're getting the therapy on time or the prescriptions refilled. It can destroy your marriage. And it can really, really destroy a family if you don't have that backbone to be able to handle it. And if you don't talk about it, and if you just have these high expectations, you will not work.
I also saw too what it did to my mom. So my mom was a single mom dealing with my younger siblings had severe mental health issues. Severe. That affected the family, that affected their schooling, that affected everything. And I think from that experience for me, my mom really genuinely did everything she could for them as children. Everything she could. My mom called, my mom bartered, my mom drove, my mom called, my mom took. But as we kind of were talking about earlier, once they hit an age, that's it. And unfortunately for my mom, my siblings hit that age where they did not consent. And for my brother, that was the worst thing he could have done for himself, was not consent to that help. And I think that's why too, for me, as soon as I was seeing these signs in childhood for my children, early childhood for my children, I was like, nope, we're done, we're getting help.
Because you saw how it affected your mom, probably still to this day, how it affected you, how it affected your kids, because their aunt and their uncle isn't there.
Yeah.
I believe the aunt, you're right.
The aunt, but the uncle's not. He's not.
Exactly.
My children do not know my brother, and that breaks my heart. It really does, because I wish he would be present in their lives, and because of severe mental illness, he's not.
Yeah, nope. It just affects all types of different things. It's mental health, and then you add behavioral health, and it's just so draining, and it's really hard. And I've always said to, like I've said to my husband before, whether or not he remembers it, but I was like, some people grow up or they become parents and they're like, prom and get your license and you might be on the football team and let's do t-ball, but you don't expect your kid to be, someone that doesn't have the ability to run because they're on their tippy toes, or someone that doesn't have the social piece in them to go to prom. They don't like girls yet. They don't like boys yet. They don't want friends. It's like, if I expected my son to be a quarterback and he really turned out to be the one that was just a water boy squirting the water in their mouths, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need I don't need any of it. I just need people to understand my kids, but more importantly for me to be able to teach them how to advocate for themselves, because I won't always be here.
And that's kind of like what I'm doing right now with Holly. Claire's, she has a mouth, but Holly, I'm teaching her how to advocate for herself, because she's very quiet and she's nervous. So in her 504, she has something in there that says,
kicking us out?
No, what's up? Did you want to
say my name's everyone listen?
Yeah. Did you want to come in?
No. You're more than welcome to speak.
If you want to add anything, you can.
We have more chairs.
No? Did you want to add
something?
Okay, that's fine. So in her 504, she has she's allowed to listen to music, because the music helps to stop the ticking. Right?
Keeps me distracted.
Distracted. So even this year, right, math. So this year in her math teacher was telling her she needs to take her headphones out. Yeah, and she was like, was it geometry?
I don't know.
But so I believe it was her geometry teacher was like, I need to take, was like telling her she needs to take her headphones out, and she was like, I have to listen to this. Like, if I don't listen to this, I'm going to start ticking. And then it was your English teacher
in 7th grade.
In 7th grade. Okay, so this is when this is just starting. So
she's 5 or 6 months out.
She has the medical 504, because I've been in.
You sure you don't want to stay?
Yes, I'm sure.
I've been insane. She doesn't want to be on camera. She's just shy. But I've been insane with this the entire time. So as soon as we got the medical 504, we got it. The nurse, I've been on the phone with everyone. I've called her vice principal a couple of times, just being very I guess blatant and blunt about it, because I don't want her to feel different. I don't want her to be honestly bullied, and I don't want her to feel uncomfortable in school.
Not to mention, how many kids in your school have headphones in?
Constantly.
All day. All day long. Please. And they're not doing it for any reason but to drain
drown everything out. Absolutely. So she, because I was kind of telling you, her tics are motor and auditory, so she has both. So I guess she was doing some kind of auditory tic, and the teacher was like, whoever's making that noise, turn your sound, or turn the sound off. And Holly's like,
whoever's making that sound, please be quiet.
And Holly was like, I have Tourette's.
And she's like, oh, sorry.
And then in her 504, it says if her tics are getting really bad, her tics used to be really, really bad, she could leave. But they weren't letting her leave because there was no one in the hallway, which okay, then you need to make it so that she can leave.
Well, just the fact that the teacher said, oh, you have Tourette's. Oh, well then, did you ever see the 504 plan in your life?
Obviously not.
Nope, you didn't read it.
So I do make the time now to always go to her back to school nights, and Claire's too, and tell every teacher I run into she has Tourette's. This is what you're going to see. This is what might happen. She has a 504. Please familiarize yourself with it. So she was experiencing tics before she even started school in 7th grade. So I know when I went to the back to school night, I told these teachers, hey, she does have this. So she's saying this is 5-6 months out. I know for a fact I told these teachers hey, she has tics. We believe it's Tourette's. She's going to be diagnosed officially in October. She's going to have a medical 504. Okay. So clearly 5-6 months out, either you've forgotten or you totally dismissed what I was saying and didn't take it seriously.
But if what she was doing or what you were doing was screaming, you know, what everyone likes to stereotype it as, shit, and you're just like screaming curse words.
Yeah, like Cartman on South Park.
Right. Then it would be. Then they call you and they want to like, oh, how do we fix this? But because it's not extreme enough, because they're subjectively defining what they think Tourette's is, then it's not as important for them to continue the 504 plan accommodations.
And it's not that extreme. I mean, for her it's exhausting. I think that's the most like extreme part of it for me as the parent is like, when she has a really bad tick attack, it looks exhausting for her. It really does. Like, uncomfortable, you know. I know she's uncomfortable. I know, like, her neck kills her because she does the neck crane. So I know, like, that's what we really have come out with that is just she's just exhausted after it. So, like, I want her to feel comfortable. I don't want her to be that tired. I don't want her to experience that because I know it's uncomfortable for her. And I don't want her to feel, like, bad about her having Tourette's because it's distracting either to her teacher, or to the other students, which that has sometimes how she's unfortunately felt, you know.
I remember one time when I was giving the principal the 504, he was like, I didn't know you had this. You never came to me. And I was like, did I have to?
Yeah, I mean, I called. I'm
sorry. It's the student's responsibility to report all diagnoses to the principal.
But even with that, like, so it was the major depressive disorder and the Tourette's, and like, I remember being on the phone so much with them in 7th grade, and like, you know, her trying to get her to go to the school therapists, and like, them having a hard time with that, or like they weren't accommodating her, or like they weren't there, or it was something where she couldn't. It was something where like they weren't even present for her to go to them, and then a lot of back and forth with the nurse, and like her first medication, which was the Topamax, was like knocking her out, so she was getting to school late. So I used to drive her there, and then I got a phone call about all of her latenesses, and I'm like, well, she's on medication that makes her tired, and they're like, the 504 doesn't cover that, and if she keeps being late, she's gonna have to go to summer school. And I'm just like, I'm trying my best here, you know what I mean, to get her to be okay. And then she wasn't doing well in school at that time because she said she was having such a hard time focusing. Yeah, because she was having such a hard time, and like it's me trying to work with the teachers, trying to work with the school counselors, because God, I was getting so many emails then, trying to work with the assistant principal on trying to like make it work for her, but at the same time trying to be like, she has Tourette's. She has major depressive disorder. Like, as a 13-year-old, those are like big. 12 year. 12? I think you were 12 when Lily was born. I thought you were 13.
Was it? Because I feel like at the beginning I was like 12, and then
maybe you were 12, turning 13. So okay, yeah. So you're 12, but okay. So 12-year-old. Major depressive disorder, Tourette's. Like that's
anxiety.
I mean that's a lot on a 12-year-old. Like. It was to the point where, like, I really didn't care. I was just thankful she was alive. Yeah. Truly. No, I'm being so serious. Like, I didn't give a shit about anything else. I was just grateful that she was alive, because it was so touch and go for a little bit with how bad the depression was and how severe the anxiety was. And like, I will tell you, like, I really was just grateful that she was still alive in here. And I didn't even give a shit about anything else. But it was a lot of touch and go for a while. With everything. 8th grade wasn't as bad because we started to get into like a good flow of things. I really thought this year was going to be rough on her. I really did. Her grandmother passed away at the beginning of the year. The nurse went out on like leave, right? And then something else happened. I don't remember.
In 9th grade.
Her therapist, well that too, and her therapist left the practice. So it was like 1, 2, 3 things, one after the other, and like I was like, that's it, we're gonna go back to how it used to be, because it was so many different things at one time.
But that's one thing that parents can't do. I mean, you'll die from stress. You can't do what ifs and oh my god, and it's just
I mean, it kind of like I totally.
It's so normal to do that, but there's some things that it's just any what or why question is just based in anxiety.
I totally agree with that. Like I those 3 things happened, and I'm not gonna lie, like I probably panicked about it for maybe. I panicked first about the nurse because I know she's very close to the nurse, and then we found out about her grandma, and I was like, this is really not good. and then to the therapist. Like, it was like literally one after the other. Yeah, and then the therapist contacted me. I'm like, this is really not good. But it happened, and I, you know, I just kind of let whatever's gonna happen. If it's out of my control, it's out of my control. I can't do anything about it. And I just kind of have gotten to the point where I'm just like, resilience-wise, I'll just handle it as it comes. Yeah. You know, and I do kind of.
All right. Well, on that note, we met the fam. So if you have anything to leave us with, do you have any words of, I don't know, about inspiration, suggestions, ways to keep our heads on straight as parents, maybe?
I don't even know if I should say it gets better because for that.
Because you never know.
It gets different.
Yes.
It gets different.
That's a good one.
You know, I really think it was just a great, almost like, you know, such a perfect point that you kind of made earlier about like expectations. Like, I think since I let go of my expectations for how I thought parenthood was going to be, how I thought motherhood was going to be. Even like, you know, we both even had like very unconventional weddings. You know what I mean? Like very unconventional. And
right.
You have this, I feel like this idea of like when you become an adult, how your life's going to be. You know, how you're going to, like the house you're going to live in, the way how your children are going to be. Your job, your wedding. You know, you have these like great dreams for yourself, almost, I want to say. And when you start to like kind of like let them go, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but like life's not going to be that way. Life might be that way for you, and it's perfect, and that's phenomenal, you know, but it might not be that way. And as you kind of like let them go and go with the flow and really take control of what you can take control of, you're just going to be happier.
It's like, very well.
Thanks. A little bit of a tangent.
Thank you. No, I go on tangents all the time. I usually cut people off and go on tangents. So I'm going to end with a question. I like to do giveaways.
Oh, okay.
Because that helps people watch. Maybe they watch to try and answer questions.
Oh, very nice.
So let's pick a good one. The last one was, what was Gavin's favorite Pokemon? Ooh. Okay. Answer that. We're still up. It's still up. Sesame Street tickets for that. So what was Connor's favorite Pokemon was the last. And let's do Holly. What was Holly? Where was Holly? What was Holly? Where was Holly when the red flags were shown for Tourette's?
I love that.
I'll give you the answer. It's Florida. But you're gonna have to watch it, and then we'll Tuesday I'll have that question.
All right,
so the question again is, where was Holly when red flags were raised? Eventually diagnosed with Tourette's, and so answer that. You will go somewhere for free on the Goofy Gators. So thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
And we will see